Trying to see if we pop in here. All right. Give me 1 second. Make it public. All right, we on and popping.
Okay.
We are going live. Common sense.
All right.
We are back. Welcome
Well,
everybody. Hopefully everybody will join and get in on this podcast. I know everybody's feeling a little type of way right now. Uh, Things didn't go the way we expected them to go the other night. I don't even want to pull our map up because our map just did not come out the right way. And I have a feeling that even when we were making the map, when we got down to those last three states and we had no choice but to give those to our candidate, we did what we had to do because we wanted her to win so badly. But tonight is going to be about how did this happen? How did we get here? So I'm gonna go to David first and and see what he thinks about how we ended up with Donald Trump as number 47.
all right. So the autopsy's done, right? And the reality of the situation is one thing I'll give Donald Trump credit for, and there's very few things that I give Donald Trump credit for. He makes people feel things. He makes them feel. When we hear about people making people feel something, we always think about, oh, you feel good, whatever. He does a great job of telling people what they want to hear and making them feel off of that. The biggest takeaway for me when it was all said and done was the exit poll on were you better off financially, today than you were then. And 75 to 25, or maybe 74-26, said no, they were not. And he made people feel like they had more money in 2020. So in relationships over the years and even dealing with my children, I always tell them take the emotion out of it when you're dealing with decisions, right? And part of that is because feelings cloud logic and clouds your judgment. People weren't thinking about 2020 like, oh yeah, I had more money in 2020. You had more money because you were at home. You weren't at home spending your money. You were at home not spending your money on the dumb stuff that people typically spend their money on. Going out to eat. Everybody was closed. Everything was closed. So yeah, you looked up and you saw that you had more money. When you look at this inflation, this was global. We talked about this the last time. This is global inflation. Okay. And when you just look at incumbents across the world that have had elections post-pandemic, all the incumbents lost.
Mm-hmm.
Every single one of them. Because people were feeling different today than they were then. And it didn't matter how bad things were in reality. At the end of the day, people, I believe, are inherently selfish. And again, for good reason, in some situations, it's difficult for them to think about their fellow man outside of their own little bubble and their own little world. That's just my take on it. I think that's ultimately why he's sitting here as 42nd and not Harris.
Um, Nice caveat to that is like you said, around the world, um, incumbents lost. And from what I heard, I haven't done my research on this, but from what I heard on one of the podcasts I was listening to today, Pod Save America, shout out to them. They do a great job. Um, this is the first year in history, the first election season in history, that every single incumbent, whether right wing or left wing, lost. First time it's ever happened in history. That tells you something about the task that VP Harris had when she came into this election. She did not only have to introduce herself to the world, she had to overcome the largest revolt of the incumbency in the history of elections. And to her credit, she tightened that race up the best she could. It don't look like it when you look at the electoral map. And all the people that are saying now that not all the people, there's very few, but some people are saying now we shouldn't have done that. We should have left Joe in. The margin would have been way worse, in my opinion. What you think, David?
So I think I won't say it would have been way worse because when you look at it, I mean, the reality situation is 13 million people just didn't show up to vote. You know what I'm saying? But again, there was one side that was playing by the rules and one side that wasn't, right? And they did a really, really good job of just downing her to the point where no matter what she did, people had already formulated their opinion about her. I mean, 2 days after, she's officially, nominated or however you want to go with it. I mean, he started calling her Kamala, Comrade Kamala, this, that, which is ironic because I mean, his best friend is Vladimir Putin. So I was like it didn't make any sense. But again, that goes more to the MAGA people not truly understanding and just going and operating off of feeling. Just operating off of feeling. They don't understand what that means. They don't understand what that means. I mean, again, they're so blind by their nationalism that it's like, this guy's out here USA, but he's not really. Why would you pull that map up?
I didn't do that. I didn't do that. I don't know where that came from.
Oh man, that's gross.
Did you pull that up, D-Ty?
That's correct.
Okay.
All right.
Okay.
Go ahead, D-Ty. Yeah, because I mean, him and
My guy over here working the system. I didn't even know he had that in him over there. Okay. Let's go.
What we're going to stop doing is misspreading false information, since that's why he won this election.
Okay.
Right now, with California still having, and this is going to show us here, California is only 72% reporting. You see that, correct? So let's get out of there. Let's go back to show all states. We are at 7-1-187-165 for Kamala and 7-4-7-8-3-5-6-1 for Trump. That means, as of right now, back here, I'm sorry. As of right now, we're about 10 million less votes in this cycle versus last time. It's not 15, it wasn't 20. And it's going to end up being even less than that. It's going to be about 7 million people stayed home. Trump, as you can see, if you know the numbers from 2020, only got 74,200 some odd thousand. Well, 74,200 and some odd thousand votes. Right now, he's a 7-7. So 74,700,000. The same people who voted for Trump last time voted for him again. Yeah. He's going to pick up maybe 1 million votes. He had the same people. It wasn't like he took this voter away or that way. He had the people who switched over and were never Trumpers or were replaced by the 18 to 22-year-olds who came in from the college campus. He did about what he was going to do and what he's been doing. He's reached his ceiling. Yeah. Trump's ceiling is 75 million votes.
He wins by subtraction.
How do you beat that? You have to have an enthusiastic base behind you. And when you don't have that, as history has shown us, you lose. Republicans go out to vote. They vote. And they pick up their base and they vote. Democrats, they're the ones who don't feel like they're a part of anything. And that's why you see that number go up and down. When people actually show up to vote, they vote overwhelmingly left. When people stay home, and they don't feel like either candidate represents them because of whatever they heard, they don't feel like they represent them, they will stay home. And that's what you saw. You saw about 8 million people not vote this time.
Well, that's good stuff. That's really good stuff, because you know what? I've been going back and forth. I know y'all probably saw on Facebook with a bunch of people who were talking about where those 15 million votes go and, where are they now? And honestly, I had stopped paying attention to the growth that was still happening in California, the growth of the numbers on VP Harris's side, because I don't know why I let that slip my mind. But it's getting closer. Not that she can win. There's no way she can win. It's electoral college. But he's already declared the winner of the popular vote, and we don't know that that's going to turn out that way if the numbers that you are showing are correct. I mean, she went from what 67 million now to 71 million. The last time I looked, it was 67. So you just showed me that, and now it's 71. So that's a huge point, a great point that you
Google's free, my friend.
showed.
Google's
Yes,
free.
it is.
And I
Yes, it
pray
is.
that these next 4 years, because I know one of your questions are going to be how do we hold Trump accountable about what he said he's going to do? And maybe he's going to stop imaginary people from eating dogs and cats. I don't know. But what I hope we do as citizens is pay attention. When you hear something, what's the old saying? Believe none of what
Hmm.
you hear and half of what you see. Like
Yeah.
I hope that when you hear something or you get news, you just simply Google it. Scroll up the
Hmm.
page. You know who's credible. You see the government sites and such. You know what's credible and what's not. Please.
But I think we're past that though. I, did he freeze up?
Yeah,
I think.
I'm finna try to fix him.
Okay.
See if I can
But I think we're
solve this.
past the point of people doing their research. They're literally taking everything that this man says at face value. It doesn't matter what he says. He can get up there and he can tell you a bald faced lie, and you know it's a lie, but they will in turn either try to defend it or they'll try to offer ambiguity to what he's saying.
Hmm.
And it's, oh, that's not what he meant. And then he'll double down on it and come back and tell you, no, that's exactly what I meant. And then you go back to him and say, well, see, this is what it said. Yeah, but you know what? It's really not that bad. Because
But David,
we want to get, we want the illegal immigrants gone. Like, that's the argument. That's the
it's
argument.
gonna crumble the
We want
economy.
lower gas
Dumb, but
and we want the immigrants gone. And we want
That
our
is the
bag of
argument.
Doritos to be $2 again instead of $5.
Yeah,
That's it.
yeah.
Like,
Now,
that's it.
D-Ty, you said something interesting about us holding him accountable for what he said, and you said something about the dogs and all that stuff. There was a narrative painted throughout this election that there was no policy spoken by him at all. Do y'all believe that he never spoke any policy the entire time? Do you believe?
that's
I
what
know. I understand that VP Harris actually had pages of policy on her website that we could go to and take a look. But how many
so did
people do
Trump.
that?
But
I
so did
know.
Trump.
But how many
It's
people?
not fair to it's
How
not
many
fair to
people
say
do
he
that?
had no policy
Well, a
because he
lot of
did.
people are saying that he didn't have any policy. That it was just
That's
all
because
talk.
it's because people want to be lazy in their narratives, and
Hmm.
that's on both sides. Obviously, we're talking about the left wings, right? Right, but people want to be lazy in their narratives. Agenda 47 was real. You go to his website, everything he's listed on there. Like people, it was what I saw and what I've paid attention to the last few days is, and you can go to Google Trends, and tariffs has spiked. It's like a top 5 trend right now that's being Googled.
Yeah.
Something he was preaching about the entire cycle. They just said, "Yeah, we agree with it."
Yep.
And then now on Fox News, people are coming out and saying, "Oh, well, it's going to add trillions to the deficit, and that cost offsets to the consumer, not actually the country that's sending the product." Oh, now we're
The
shocked.
tariffs.
Yeah. So
Okay.
it's he has an agenda in his plan and everything he proposes. We had 23 Nobel Peace Prize winners go out and say, "Hey, this is probably not a good deal for the economy going forward." You
Right.
had Goldman Sachs, who was probably they. I guarantee the editor of Goldman Sachs voted for Trump, 100%. But even they
Right.
said, "Hey, when it comes to the economy, this plan's bad. It's just going to add more trillions." What did Trump do the last time he was in office? $8 trillion
8 trillion.
in 4 years, a record. He
Yep.
is not better on the economy. And like you said, when you talk to the supporters, well, he's better on the economy. He's going to fix things. With what? Well, last time, 4 years ago, we were in wild times. It was a pandemic. People were at home by midnight. Like times were different 4 years
Hmm.
ago, and he couldn't get us out of that. He had no plan for that, so to say.
Peacock,
So what's his plan
Peacock,
now?
it takes me back to the original point that I made in the opening, right? People voted off of feel. They voted off the
Correct.
feel. So you had the left not convinced that she could make their lives better,
Mm-hmm.
okay? And then you had the right saying, well, I had more money in my pocket in 2020. Yeah, because like you just said, yes, 12 o'clock you were at home. I mean, for goodness sakes, Walmart. I want to say, are they the largest now or the second largest? Because it used to be Coke was the largest, Like they don't run their stores 24 hours anymore.
Nope.
Just stuff like that. So what I'm saying is like people, what they didn't realize is like, yeah, you had more money in your pocket because you weren't out spending it. Oh, well, gas was $1.20. Well, yeah, because a barrel of oil was trading at negative pricing. It was $1 for a barrel of oil. So in the oil industry, anything above $40 is a break even. Anything above $40 for a barrel of oil is profit. Right now, I can't remember what it was Friday when I left work, but I would imagine it's probably $81, $82 a barrel. So $42 of profit per barrel of oil is what they're making every single. In Saudi Arabia, I mean, they're pumping out 3 million barrels a day. The United States, 3 million barrels a day. So yeah, in 2020, when gas was $1.20, it was because no one was driving. You weren't going anywhere.
Yeah.
Like I remember getting up, going to Kroger, using my Kroger points too, because again, I got gas for 98 cents a gallon one time because of my Kroger points when it was all said and done. So
And
it didn't have anywhere to go.
we understand that. We understand that gas is built on supply and demand, like the rest of our economy is supply and demand. So when there's no demand, then there's a higher supply and cost goes down. And that's what happened during the pandemic. We all understand that. But that part, I don't think that's the reason that he won. I feel like our messaging was off.
No,
You know what? You know what we forgot? You know what I didn't hear? And this isn't even a part of what I was going to show, but what I didn't hear from us this time was anything about the Dreamers. We forgot about the Dreamers. Do they exist anymore? Obama ran on Dreamers. Ran on it. On hope
Yeah,
for
but
these
he also
people.
ran against gay marriage too. It's a different.
He did. He did run against gay marriage.
Right.
And if I understand that as a Democrat, we believe that gay marriage is okay for people, but it's not a popular thing to run on today. Still, it wasn't popular then. It's not popular now.
It's saying that like things that happen 5% or less of the time is what people talk about when they talk about who they voted for, like the kids and the gender assignment. And they're going to school and coming back one gender and coming back another. Like that's not happening. And the people
It's a 1% issue. But that's what I'm saying. Why do we insist on running? Why do we insist on running on 5% issues that don't help us?
But they do and they can. It's a different game. But instead of complaining about we're running at a different pace, we're running 2 different games, 2 different opponents, just go away from the I have to take care of everybody mentality. Just focus on the people who are poor and the people who are working, because those are the people who are going to either stay home or vote the other route.
That's it. I'm telling
you can't. I don't care about both sides and making
JB,
everybody having Liz Cheney behind you and Dick Cheney.
That's what I'm saying. What he's saying is the truth, because you know what happened in this election? Everybody who made less than not everybody, but everybody who made less than $100,000 went in Trump's favor. 55 to 44%. Now, you know what's crazy? This is the first time in history that the Democrats won the $100,000 plus category. So what we have leaned towards is elitism, and elitism does not help us.
Here's the problem. I wouldn't say
they didn't lean in on elitism.
I got you, David. Let me hit this one real quick.
Okay, go ahead, hit it, bro.
And I'm probably going to say, well, maybe half of what you're going to say. We didn't lean into elitism,
right,
but we included them, and that's the issue. Because you see 3 black men, and I'll just say this: we all make more than 94% of the people who look like us in this country. We still all voted left, right? It's the people who hurt, who aren't educated, who easily get fed bullshit, that went that way or stayed home.
But see, I don't find in what I do, I don't find that to be correct. I work with very bright people who make tons of money, who went to college to own these automobile places. They're not dumb. I don't agree with.
But that's what I'm saying. They're the outliers.
Let me finish. Let me finish. I don't think they're not dumb. They heard a message that resonated with them. They heard a message that made sense to them, and we didn't give them. We didn't. I mean, I even listened to when I listened to my fiance talk, and she voted the way that she should have voted, but she voted that way because of one issue, not because of the economy. It was about Trump's personality, who he is, a a convicted rapist. That's why she voted against him. That's why she went that route. But her conversation during it, when she was listening to VP Harris talk, was this don't sound right. This doesn't sound like anything. She's just saying the same thing over and over again. These are the words that were coming out of her mouth. Somebody who doesn't listen to politics the way we do. She was hearing these things and saying, well, she just saying the same. Is this true? Is she really going to do gender assignment stuff? And I have to answer that question. When you put stuff out there, it doesn't make that person dumb who hears it, but they hear it enough and don't hear somebody else coming back with something that's going to help their life, then it doesn't make them dumb. It makes them want something to help their life. $25,000 for a house, if you ain't finna buy a house, you don't feel that. $6,000 for kids, if you have a kid for a tax credit, you don't feel that. Especially when the other side's saying, I'm gonna leave it $5,000 for all your kids. Every kid you have will be $5,000 tax deduction, but one side saying, if you have a newborn, I'll give you six. And if you have more, it'll go lower than that. People want to hear a simple message. I'm going to do this for you. And not I have. Go ahead, Dave. I know you got something.
I got a lot. I got a lot because number one, you sound like a Trumper right now.
I knew you were gonna say it. I knew you were gonna say it.
Number two, I mean, there's a okay. We talk about, and you're saying it makes sense. If you're not buying a house, $25,000 does nothing for you, right?
Mhm.
And I get that, but when I'm sitting there and I'm listening to you, what it sounds like is this, and when you talk about your fiance or whatever, what it sounds like again, it goes back to one side having to over-explain every single thing that they're going to do, and then everybody taking this side for just face value. Because again, you can go back and say, well, this side's saying that he's going to give you $5,000 breaks or deductions or whatever. The majority of these people file their taxes at H&R Block, number one.
Mhm.
So they don't have financial CPAs that are breaking down their finances. They're not saving receipts. They're not deducting. They're not doing anything. They're sitting around waiting for that refund check. Okay, and so when it's all said and done, it's like you got the New York Jets and you got the New England Patriots, right? The New England Patriots, they go offside, they don't get a penalty. New York Jets go offside, it's a 20-yard penalty. That's basically what this is right here. Like when it's all said, we can sit here and say, well, this and this and this happened and this happened. The reality situation is it wasn't a fair shake and or comparison. And for a person that had 110 days or 109 days to run a campaign, to get out here, to get people energized and get people in, you touched on energizing D-Todd earlier today, like an energized base, like people were there, but it was so much misinformation and so many lies told about this lady over and over, and that's all the media played. MSNBC, Fox, all of them, they all played it. It was a completely different playing field for her. So when you sit back and say, well, why did she lose? It's that. We weren't telling the people the truth. We weren't telling the people the truth because, like you said, D-Todd pointing out the numbers. Trump wins by subtraction. Okay, he beat Hillary by subtraction. He beat Hillary because Jill Stein ran in 2016, and she took a significant chunk of the vote. They didn't have a real third-party option this year, right? He didn't grow. He didn't do any better this year around than he did last year. Now, I take that back.
Yeah, the numbers don't lie.
Right, that's
He
what
did better amongst Hispanics.
That's what I'm saying. Let me again. That was about to correct that because again, I'm used to saying that. But yes, no, he did increase in certain areas. But again, for those people, it wasn't about child tax credits. It wasn't about immigration. It wasn't. It all goes back to we had more money in 2020. That's what it was. That was the biggest driving factor and driving question in any argument that you ever got into with anybody that's MAGA this year.
It's not even.
We were better in 2020 than we are now.
It's not even they had more money. They were able to save more money is the key.
Yeah.
Because people make more money now than they did
because they weren't going anywhere. Like I said,
And
one of the
I said
biggest
that on the last.
let me
Go
say this
ahead.
one thing real quick before I go. One of the
Go
biggest
ahead.
Trumpers I know. One of the biggest Trumpers I know. I'm not gonna name it, and I hope to God at one point he's looking at this. I know for a fact he made more money. The most money he ever made in his life was made over the past 4 years, and that had one to do with industry that he was in and the type of job that he had. Okay, and what I thought about posting this and shit, and I decided to not do it because I come from very humble beginnings, and I'm not rich. I just do okay, right? But if you have a mediocre skill set that only allows you to make $20 an hour, yes, inflation is going to crush you. If you don't do anything in your life to change your situation, to put yourself in a situation to compete with what's going on in global economics, that is a issue that you need to address within yourself.
There it is.
I mean, that's just a reality. I'm not talking about a person
that's pull themselves up by the bootstraps.
What's that?
You can't tell people to pull themselves up by the bootstraps.
Well, I mean, that's what they've been telling the black folks for years. Pull yourself up by the bootstraps. Pull yourself up by the bootstraps. Because again, don't nothing piss a white person off more in the country than a person getting something that they don't think that they deserve.
Yeah.
Nothing. So when they sit back and that's why they can make up these stories about, well, these immigrants are coming across the country illegally and they're getting $20,000 right out of the gate and they're getting houses and they're getting it. No, they're not. But they know it's going to inflame you and it's going to piss you off.
Right.
It's going to make you think like it's happening. Again, like I said, I was sitting there. I went to go vote the other day. I live right downtown in my city. We got 2 twin buildings. I moved from one building to the other. I changed my address, but I didn't change my registration. I almost couldn't vote because I didn't update my address. So you mean to tell me that when every person I see walk in there, they have to show their ID, they have to verify who they are, blah, blah, blah. Where are these illegals coming in and doing all this voting? Where's it happening at?
We know none of that's real.
But that's what I'm saying.
Yeah, we know none of that's real.
I just want my countrymen to be smarter. That's all. And I just want my countrymen to be smarter. I wish that they were smarter. But I'm sorry.
But this goes back to the premise of the question. First off, I wasn't calling everyone capo dumb. I'm saying the base that does not vote, barely votes, that come out when they're engaged. They feel like they can make a difference. This vote was, well, it's all about the swing states. If you vote in Indiana, it really doesn't matter. That's going to be red. If you vote in California, it doesn't matter. That's going to be blue. Like a lot of people were told that too. A lot of people in non-swing states simply didn't go out to vote too. And we're still only going to be about 8 million off the mark from 2020.
Right.
Also, in 2020, a lot of people were at home. They sent in ballots. It was easier to vote in 2020. Then it was easier to vote this time too.
Yeah.
That makes sense. How do you combat Trump, the right wing, all of that? We deal with them every day. They live in their own reality, and how they feel is going to be how they feel. They can psych themselves up to believe anything, whether it's the truth or not. Like you said, you can show them, hey, no, this is what it is. We don't trust that. Oh, I don't know where you got that from. Oh, you got it from a government website. Well, the government's lying because of who's in all. Like, so we can only trust how you feel and not numbers. Like, they are going to vote how they vote. It's the people who don't vote. How do you talk to them? Who are the people who don't vote? Those that make under $80,000 a year. They stay home. They feel like they aren't their vote matter, or they are energized by Trump and what he's saying. And they feel it, and they get it, and they go, and they move.
Or another E word, they're not energized; they're entertained.
Fair enough. The way they argue with us on Facebook, you would think they were energized, right?
What I'm gonna do now, before we jump into the next segment of the bedwetting that's happening now and the blame that's going back and forth. I know you, David. You said you hadn't been really listening to the news or listening to podcasts. But from what I've been seeing, there's a lot of blame game. You know, the people in Biden's camp are pointing at her, and the people in VP Harris' camp are pointing at him. But before we go into that, I'm gonna play one video. This is the video I told y'all I was gonna put together for y'all. I already see Dave already ready to call me a Trump. He want me to put my red tie on. I ain't got no red tie. So here we go. I'm gonna key this video up.
At the center
And
of our plan
can
for
y'all see that?
economic relief
Yeah.
are massive tax cuts for workers that include something else that's turned out to be very popular, actually. It's called no tax on tips. No tax on no tax on tips. I got that by having dinner recently in Nevada. Waitress comes over. How's everything going? Oh, sir, it's so tough. The government's after me all the time on tips, tips, tips. I said, well, they give you cash. She said, actually, and I didn't know this. She said, very little cash is given. It's all put right on the check. And they come in and they take so much of our money. I said to her, let me just ask you a question. Would you be happy if you had no tax on tips? She said, what a great idea. I got my information from a very smart waiter. I'm also announcing that as part of our additional tax cuts, we will end all taxes on overtime. You know what that means? Think of that. Think of that. Think of that. That gives people more of an incentive to work. It gives the companies it's a lot easier to get the people. I went to some economists, great ones, and I said, what do you think? They said, it would be unbelievable. You'll get a whole new workforce by doing that. No taxes on overtime. The people who work overtime are among the hardest working citizens in our country. And for too long, no one in Washington has been looking out. We're not going to affect our Social Security. We're not changing it. And I proved that over 4 years. And we're going to do it. It's very unfair to people. They spend their life and they're great citizens and they pay in. We're not going to charge tax to Social Security, the seniors. We're not going to do it. We're not going to charge. And also tax. I say the two things. We're going to have no tax on seniors' Social Security. And we're going to have no tax on tips. Very simple. But this is what you've been waiting for, because today I am also announcing that as part of our tax cuts, we will make interest on car loans fully deductible. So we're going to make it fully deductible, the interest payments. That's going to revolutionize your industry. This will stimulate massive domestic auto production and make car ownership dramatically more affordable for millions and millions of working American families. Fully deductible.
Let me cut this off real quick.
Please do.
Now, before we go into whether he'll do any of these things or not, this is my point. This is what people hear. People hear this and people want this. What in those messages, if they were said by VP Harris, would you have disagreed with?
Okay. Okay. So it's not okay. All right. All right. So let's start we'll start at the very first video. No tax on tips, right? So you can go online anywhere right now. Everybody in the world is complaining about tips, or at least in America, because again, tipping culture is out of control. Okay. So one point is this. Number one, restaurants, pay your people a livable wage, right? So that's where I would go with it, to whereas they wouldn't even have to rely on tips to even get taxed on tips. Number one. Number two, we all are on Facebook, we're all on Instagram, we're all this stuff. Just look at any thread that talks about tipping. It's overwhelmingly, I don't care about tips. I don't want to tip. I don't want to tip. Why should I have to tip for this? Why should I have to tip for that? Again, like I said, at the end of the day, Americans are inherently selfish. Inherently selfish. They want what they want when they want. It's the reason why Amazon is as big as it is, because people want instant gratification. They want what they want when they want it. So while that's all good, how many people out here, waiting tables or whatever it is, are
How many people waiting tables heard that and said, "I'm voting for no tax on tips"?
no, I understand that. But what I'm sitting there saying is, at the end of the day, how does that help? How does that help a person that's trying to buy a house that isn't a waitress?
That's not what you got. You got to take the whole thing in totality, though, bro. You got to take everything he said in that comment. That is what they call a populist view. With populism wins, and all she had to do was embrace it. She took the no tax on tips. She took it.
Not even just that. She said, "Hey, the tax cuts you're currently in, that you hate, were passed in 2018. It was Donald Trump's cuts, and it was for the rich, and it trickled up, not down.
Absolutely.
I'm going to make tax cuts for the working and middle class because they're the backbones of this community." That's what she said.
Yeah, but you have
working class than there are that are servers. There are more people trying to buy homes than there are that are servers. That is such a niche thing.
Not in Nevada. Not in Nevada. There's not.
In one state.
Right. Well,
I mean,
but Nevada's built on the service industry. Nevada's the service industry. So that works for the state of Nevada. It doesn't work for the state of Indiana. It doesn't work for the state of Pennsylvania. It doesn't work for the state of Michigan, where there's manufacturing. And so when you sit back and you talk about, okay, like, let's get to the point of him, we're going to make interest rate tax deductible. What difference does it make when literally 95% of that car is made overseas and you're putting a tariff on it? So what you're going to get back on that tax write-off on that interest rate? Guess what? When that piece of property or that piece of that car comes to the port and that company has to pay that tariff at the port in order for them to take possession of it, and that money goes to the Treasury Department, and then it goes to the car lot, and then they raise it up. It's a wash.
Listen, fundamentally, that makes sense to us who understand that. We're not talking about us that understand that. We're talking about people who voted and don't understand that.
Yeah.
So
they understand what they heard.
So the message should be, hey guys, you need to educate yourself on the stuff this man is saying or this person is saying.
That's not it. That's not it, David, because what Capo was saying, and this is I just went off, and now I get where you were going and what you were getting at. The messaging has to be simpler because people don't think critically.
Absolutely.
The message has to be simpler. And how are you going to do it and push back? Who cares? You have to be as loud with your truth as he is as loud with his lies. When you are timid and you go, people think you're unauthentic. They think you aren't being honest with them. They think you're trying to hide something. You have to be as loud with the truth as they are with the lies. So, and even if you're not going to break down everything, and you just want to say something, say it with passion. Say it and preach that to the world, because people like being talked at. As much as they hate it, they love it. They embrace it.
Yeah, it's true.
And that's why
you're taking control. Now you got my attention. I love that she speaks her mind.
Yep. That's why Charlemagne asked her the question, why do you keep giving us all these talking points? And she answered it well, but Charlemagne thinks like most people think. You sound robotic when you come out here with I'm going to do $25,000 this. I'm going to do $6. The exact same talking points do not work. Democrats have to find a candidate that can speak to people how we're talking to people.
Yes, not a robot. Donald Trump comes out and says the same fucking thing every time. Excuse my French. I'm sorry, but that made me mad because he does that every time. Every time, robotic. She goes out there and it's manufactured. It's because she's black. And honestly,
no, it's not. No. You don't do that, bro. Don't do that.
Let me speak. Let me get it out.
Go ahead.
Let me, because this is what I'm going to say. We all work around different people where we have to be a certain type of way. When we go home and we're around the people we grew up with or our family, we're a certain type of way. We have all put on different voices, different acts, just different things just to navigate the situation we're around, because that's how we become successful. So when she has to go out there and she is doing what? She's in front of, us three are in a group of, and I'm just going to say this, if we're in a group and there's 100 white people in this room and it's us three in there, we're not going to talk like we talk if we're in a room in front of 100 black people.
Exactly.
we're gonna, hey, yes, it just shit changes. Your demeanor changes, everything changes. The nation is what, 65% white? How do you think she's going to get up there and talk? She's trying to appease the masses because she's only told, hey, you have to go out here and be a candidate for everybody. So she's going to go manufactured, professional, because that's how the fuck she got to where she was going. That's how she got those jobs and in those rooms that she normally wouldn't get into. So it's harder for her. She can't just go be herself. So she had that against her. Trump can just go out there and say what the fuck he wants, and he's one of the boys. Right. You're gonna go, oh, that's great. He can lie through his teeth. She has to go out there and be professional. She has to. And guess what? It comes off as fake because that ain't who she is. She's smart. She's intelligent. Exactly. And when she lets it out, now it's what do they say when she when she slips up? See, she's trying to sound black in that room.
Right.
And did a really, really, really good job. Now, granted, thankfully she got over 90% of the black vote, but just watching the message boards of black people coming out and caping for white people on this, and look at her. When did she start talking like that? When she was like, y'all, yeah, let's go, let's go, sister. When did she start talking like that? When did she? So that's it. Like he said, go back to inauthentic. So when she's talking to us, because we are the most self-criticizing of the us's, of the people in this country. Like, I mean, again, what's the first thing that happens when you see your homeboy? It ain't no like, hey, what's going on, bro? How you doing? It's a joke. It's a crack. You're talking about something. If he got these shoes on, you're like, oh, look at you with them little whatever. That was the thing. And so they know that. And so then it's easy for us to be like, you know what? Yeah, she ain't genuine. No, she ain't black. Since when is a Jamaican not black?
Oh, yeah,
ain't nobody ever said Usain Bolt wasn't black.
Right.
No one ever said Bob Marley wasn't black.
Anytime a black person runs for president, they question their ethnicity. They question whether they even should be allowed to run. That is a fact. My point in all of this is, I believe the Democrats have a messaging problem. Somehow we have lost the working class. When you lose the working class at the automotive industry, when you lose the union who Joe Biden stood on the line with, there is an issue with our messaging. No one understands where we're coming from.
But it's not an issue with the messaging as well. It is. Yeah. But it's about, so the Democratic class or party, to me, it's about being decent fucking human beings. We're at a point now where you look online. It doesn't matter whether it's online video games, online this, online that. You can literally put anything online, and people are going to argue about it. It doesn't matter what it is. Like hate and frustration and anger and I'm trying to dominate this. It's what it. It doesn't matter what the messaging is. So unless she comes out here or any other Democratic candidate comes out here and is aggressive and steamrolling people the way that he steamrolls people, because again, he also did this whole bro tour thing where he went on all these podcasts where all these bros and this and this and this and this, the Andrew Tate of the world. Like the most despicable version of men. You know what I mean? Like I said, people talk about toxic masculinity all the time. I don't think that even exists because, you know what? Masculinity, there's nothing toxic about it. So you cannot pair a word like toxic with masculinity because a real man is not toxic at all.
Right.
At all. But their mentality is, I'm a man, I can do what I want to do. And even more so than her being black, it was the fact that she's a woman. I don't give a shit. I mean, like I said, it could have black, white, Puerto Rican, whatever. It doesn't matter. It was more about her being a woman. They ran a campaign that was anti-woman. And again, the abortion thing is important. They ran an anti-woman campaign. I don't want a woman as my president. How many people disrespect women in authority positions and they just assume that, she either fucked her way to the top or this or this or this. How many times do you hear people, bitch this or that or whatever? That's just the reality and the nature and the culture of America. They hate women. The American culture is they hate women.
Which is what was said over. It was said over and over again on the campaign trail, on my page, everywhere, that had sex her way all the way to the top. You know, I try not to cuss as much anymore, but she had sex all the way to get to the top to her place, and everybody knows that's not true. Everybody knows that's not true. But
Not everybody, because they believe that's
well, you're
what
right. You're right.
they took
Well,
one
and I
relationship that she
yep,
had with the mayor of whatever city it was in California,
Willie
and all
Brown,
of a
whatever
sudden
his
that's
name
just
was.
what she
Willie
does.
Brown was his name. He
Yeah,
wasn't
Yeah,
even the
Willie
mayor
Brown.
at the
That's right.
time. They
Yeah,
had relations.
yeah,
and,
yeah. I
and,
mean,
and,
and
and
The
it's
live.
the same thing they did with Fannie Willis. They looked at an insignificant relationship with, you know, a colleague, and all of a sudden she's not fit to prosecute Donald Trump.
do you think that she lost the election because she's a female and because she's black?
I think she lost the election because she's a female more than because she's black.
What about you, D?
I feel like she didn't have enough time.
Yeah.
No,
That leads into my next question.
I don't
Do
think
y'all
time was. Hold on, before you ask the question, I don't think time was an issue, because I promise you, if Josh Shapiro had ran, I think that it would have been a different outcome.
Yeah,
I
but he
honestly think
has
and with the
multiple
same amount of
things.
time. With the same amount of time.
Yeah, but he has multiple things to benefit him too as well.
No,
he
I
has
agree. But the
he has
biggest thing that
one huge
benefits him
he has one huge thing that benefits him is he sounds authentic when he talks.
He
I
only
know
sounds
people,
authentic because he's what? He sounds fake, man. He
I
sounds
know
like
people don't want to I know people don't want to hear it, but he sounds more authentic when he talks.
he's
I have so many times I screamed at the camera while watching VP Harris's her rallies, and I said, just say something new to me. Say something that gets the crowd excited. We have allowed, ever since after Barack Obama, we have allowed Donald Trump to beat us to the punch on so many things that should have been Democratic policy. He beat us to the punch on they don't even think about the fact that Obama spent way more money on HBCUs. He brought way more money to HBCUs. All people talk about is that Trump signed a bill that put money into HBCUs because we don't highlight what we do. We
We also
have
don't push back
But it's not.
because
But it's
you talk
not. It's
about
not us highlighting or lack of us highlighting it. It's the lack of the media highlighting it.
yeah.
we got you really believe MSNBC's against the left? You really
I'm
believe
not.
CNN is against the left? They're not.
No, I'm not saying that
CNN and
they're. No, I'm not saying
MSNBC
that they're
thrive off of
against it.
Trumpism. They are
Right.
they
There
get
you
more
go.
Yeah,
views
absolutely.
behind this guy. So no,
They would
like
rather
people
spend
when
more time talking about what Trump did and what Trump said that was so messed up than the good stuff that anybody else does.
has done. And they didn't highlight when Trump came in office in 2017 and slashed the budget for HBCUs just to bring it back at a lesser rate. They don't talk about that. They just say,
Right.
hey, look, he's brought this money. Now Biden and Harris, what is it, like 2.5 billion versus his 500 million? Not
Mhm.
even close.
But
Messaging.
why is that not the conversation though?
But
That's
he
the
just
culture.
told you.
That's the culture of America, bro. Conflict.
We
Conflict.
we have to get out of blaming the media for everything, bro.
I'm not blaming. I'm not
we
blaming
talked
the
about
media.
Trump. That's what Trump did, was blame the media for everything.
And
No.
then they still do what? What do? He blamed the media, then created a social media platform in a news network.
Absolutely.
People watch
Absolutely.
Because
and
so
feed them with these thoughts that they think these things, that she slept her way to the top because they watched it on ONN.
But that's not what you hear on that's not what you hear on MSNBC. When I get up in the morning and listen to Morning Joe, I only hear great things about the side that I like.
no,
I only hear great things about it.
That's not true. Maybe you do. I don't know how you
Do
interpret
you
it.
listen to Morning Joe?
No, I do listen to Morning Joe. But what I'm saying is every Morning Joe, every time it's Morning Joe, it's going to be Rachel Maddow, it's going to be Lawrence. That what they lead off with is the thing that Trump said and did
Trump
the
bad.
night before.
Right.
Trump bad. And then they get to, oh, well, Kamala this, and this is why we should do this, and this. Because, again, it's the same reason why, like me personally, I'm not a Stephen A. Smith guy. But when Cold Pizza was the very first conflict sports show, that's what it was called before it turned into Sports Taking or First Taking, all the other stuff.
Yeah.
It wasn't until Stephen A. Smith came on there as the angry, loud black man that people started tuning into.
Mm-hmm.
And then he took that angry, loud black man, and then he started talking about things that white people don't like, and he embraced that shit. And which is why he's the most, well, up until Pat McAfee showed up, was the most popular thing at ESPN. He's the only one that's ever survived all of the cuts because he's
Mm-hmm.
selling conflict day in and day out.
Mm-hmm.
Shannon Sharp and Skip Bayless did it on FS1 up until Skip Bayless crossed the line. Well, he didn't really cross the line. He was typical white man shit.
Mm-hmm.
Shut your black ass up, Shannon. I don't care that you're in the Hall of Fame because Shannon Sharp, that video where he constantly plays, I'm in the freaking Hall of Fame, Shannon. And he's like, so what? So what? Up until then, that's when Shannon was like, all right, let me get the fuck up. Let me get away. I'm sorry. Let me stop cussing. Let me get away from here, right? That's the thing. She came out trying to be decent. She came out trying to play by the rules. There is no way if you are a person that cares about other people and care about enhancing other people's lives that are different than you, there is no way you can come out and be like Donald Trump. You cannot do it. It will completely turn her off, or whoever this candidate is. You can't. There's no way you can come off with a democratic message of like, I want to help all people, without it sounding nice.
Right.
I'm glad.
There's no way you can be rude about it.
Yeah,
it's not possible.
I'm glad you mentioned Stephen A. Smith because he was just with Sean Hannity on his show, and Hannity was like, "Yeah, we won, but how can you?" And then he just went to regurgitating all of the talking points, the lies, and those things, and Stephen A. didn't push back. But that's my point. You can't say, well, you can't blame the media. You watch Morning Joe the same way they watch Fox News.
Mm-hmm.
And they have the same friends who think alike and share the memes. How many times do you get on Facebook, somebody shares a screenshot of something that's fake, and then it just blows up?
Absolutely.
And you're talking with somebody, and they go, well, no, they did this, this, and that. And you go, well, that wasn't true. But by the time you try to debunk all of that, it's already in their heads, and they believe these things. Media isn't just Fox News, it's social media too.
Absolutely.
So yes, it controls the narrative because where else do people get their information? They aren't researchers. Everyone hated. We grew up. We hate school, right? They aren't researching anything. They're going to take what they hear at face value and then spread that like it's the gospel.
Right.
And that's just what they do. So as long as they continue to consume that, that's what you're going to get. But we still keep getting around and away from the topic.
The topic is
messaging.
How we get here.
We agree. It is messaging. You have to be more brash, more forward thinking, more face value. Being educated isn't going to help you get there right now because which is my point from the beginning. This is, and I know people are going to say I'm wrong or whatever, but I truly believe if VP Harris had stuck to what she came out with, a populist message, she turned the corner and started embracing the Cheney lady, or started pulling Cheney on stage with her, and just trying her best to court the right and get them over to her. And she won 5% of Republicans. 5. That didn't help. Nope. That's where she turned the corner and decided to go as far to the center, and it wasn't even to the center. She just decided that she could not win with progressives. And it hurt. It hurt bad. That, in my opinion,
maybe I'm just a relic because maybe I'm a relic, and what y'all are calling far left, because I think we touched on this a little bit. What people are calling today far left is stuff that's just common decency to people.
Sure,
I'm saying. What'd you say?
She went away from that messaging. You're both saying the same thing, and you're talking about last episode where you were like, decent policies shouldn't be far left because in any other country they're not. They're really centrist ideas.
Yeah,
agreed. But she went away from the centrist. She went right. She moved right.
Yeah, she went right. She walked away from it.
I'll be a president for everybody. Fuck that. Hey, middle class, you've been stepped on too long. They're gonna come back here. We're under. She never once said we're under his tax plan right now, and he's screwing you. What were your taxes last year versus this year?
Yeah.
Oh, it went up. That's him. I'm trying to fix that. So you say I've been in office for 3. Yeah, I gotta wait for this to run out in 2025. Guess when I take office? Let me help. Let me help you, because you're poor and you're struggling. Talk down to people, make them feel like they can't do anything without you because they feel like they can't do anything without Trump.
Yeah,
And do you see how simple that message is? That's the message you need. It's when you go up there and you sound like a robot that people tune out. The people that you want to listen, tune out. We listen because we understand what she's saying. But the people you want to listen, if they hear what D. Todd just said, that's a totally different conversation for people. If she would have said no tax on tips, which she did say later, she did adopt that policy, no tax on tips. I'm going to do the best I can to stop tax on overtime. I'm going to do the whole interest rate on cars. Do you know how large that is? Do you know how large a tax deduction on interest rate for cars is? Do you know how many people rent homes? If she would have said, I want to make your rent tax deductible, just like the people who own homes tax deductible. These are populist views that make people go out there and vote. For whatever reason, they decided that we don't need to do that. We need to pull in these disenfranchised people who don't like Trump, and it did not work.
No,
Right. So,
no,
but you know
because they
what? They're
don't
populist
exist.
views, but they aren't real.
What do you mean they're not real?
So if she came out and said, you know what, I'm going to make your rent tax deductible.
Until 1986, interest rates on cars was tax deductible.
It was.
Interest rates on cars was tax deductible until 1986. They took it away. You know what they said? They said the tax code is too complicated. We have to get rid of something. Guess what they got rid of? What helped the little people. They didn't get rid of all the stuff that H&R Block can't figure out. They got rid of what helped the little people.
Right, but as I'm saying, the masters of the universe, which are the finance guys, you think that they're going to allow that to actually happen? No.
And see, look, this is where it gets sticky, because obviously corporate donors put in all this money, and people have to perform for the corporate donors. They have to. Here's the question, which is what TYT talked about a lot. No, I am not a Trumper. If there was anybody else I could vote for on earth, I would vote for any other human being than Donald Trump, because he's a terrible person. He's a convicted rapist. 27 different people have said he touched them.
Adjudicated.
Not convicted. He's not convicted. Adjudicated. Take that back. But I would not vote for the man. Here's the thing about this man, though. This is his last term. Will he say, to hell with Marion Eldon, whatever her name is, the lady, the lady who gave him $90 million from Israel? Will he say, to hell with Benjamin Netanyahu, I'm not going to help him? Will he say, all those donors who gave me money, I don't need them no more, so I'll do these tax cuts. I'll do every single thing I said in that plan. If he does every single thing he said in that plan, we are in trouble. We are in trouble if he does all that stuff.
Why would we be in trouble? Explain.
Because if he does all that stuff, J.D. Vance will be our next president in 28. If he does all that stuff and the economy changes that way, if people literally see their middle class tax cuts happen this time, it's a wrap. And like you said, it all expires in 25.
Let me say this real quick. Number one, Donald Trump is one of the most selfish human beings in the world. So
Absolutely.
Why would he? Number one, he's not going to do that. Number two, I don't know if you saw me make a face when you said this is Donald Trump's last term. I
don't know for sure either. I don't know
because like I said, based on this again, Clarence Thomas, Alito, they about to be about to paint. He about to put some young folks up in there, a couple of young folks up in there.
Yep.
That may sit back and say, you know what? Because again, there are people out here that's like, you know,
we can take them for life.
It ain't going. So again, they might throw that whole term limits thing out the window.
Right.
Like, it ain't going to happen in the first year. It ain't going to be the immediate thing. But I tell you what, 2 years into this thing, if people are feeling good, and it ain't that bad. It ain't as bad as we thought it was going to be. Guess what? That's what? The next thing.
And then we in trouble again.
Well, here's the thing. This is where he can really take off. even if maybe he proposes those things, maybe he doesn't. But if he does nothing, just rides the wave of the current trend, we are really in trouble then.
Yeah.
Everything is already starting to trickle down and get cheaper, and inflation's down, and then it's falling to its normal rate.
Mm-hmm.
If he does nothing, it then takes all the credit for it.
Yeah.
What are people going to say? Man, these last 4 years have been great. Those other 4 years with Biden was up and down. It's all over the place.
Yeah.
Now things are great.
Well, it's just like his first. It's just like his first 2 years.
We're gonna go back to what Capo said. Then we need messaging. We need somebody that's gonna come up and say, you know what? This is the trend. This is what was happening. He didn't do A, B, and C. We need somebody strong. Who is that? Who's that person?
Who's going to believe him? Because they believe Trump. They already believe Trump.
Could do it, but America, because they so goddamn hateful, they would never.
They ain't gonna put Pete up there, man. You think Republicans ain't gonna vote for him?
Right? They would never.
The one thing they hate more than a woman is a gay person.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I'm saying. America hates gay people. They hate women. They. Oof.
Yeah.
That ain't
Capo, you've been in Tennessee too long, bro.
Bro, this has been me forever. When I listen,
you've been in Tennessee too long. When you was in the great state of Indiana, that's red as hell. It wasn't as red as Tennessee.
I don't know y'all almost as red as us down here.
We might be redder now, man. We might be more red.
I'm just keeping it 100, man. Any of those policies that he talked about, I don't have a problem with any of them. The problem I have is with cutting the corporate tax rate to 15%, with putting tariffs on companies. I have problems with that stuff. I don't have problem with the populist message. I don't have problem with. I have problem with mass deportation. I have problem with several things he said, but I'm talking about those 4 or 5. There's no issue.
It's not even going to happen. It's so stupid that people think that that's actually a thing. It's
what, the mass deportation?
It's not possible. It's not. Unless they're willing to cut the Defense Department's budget to pay for this, it's the only way it happens.
But bro,
which they're not going to do, because again, every time I watch a football game, the greatest commercial during any football game is a military commercial.
Mm-hmm.
The military, America's projection is strength, is strength, is strength, is strength, is strength. That's it. So you're gonna have Lockheed Martin. You're gonna have who else? Who else is out there? Northrop Grumman. Everybody. Whoa! You're gonna have those lobbyists fighting to keep all of that money in there. Again, Lockheed Martin's 90% of their entire company is defense contracts.
Right, but that's what I'm saying. If the crazy stuff that he talked about doing can't happen, he can't deport 12 million people, 20 million people. He can't do that. That won't happen. He's never going to build a wall. All the crazy parts of what he wants to do doesn't happen, and the stuff he can do, like interest payments from cars being deductible, happens, and people feel that, and no tax on overtime. People can go work 80 hours instead of it costing them more money to work the 80 hours than to work the 40. He does those small things. He comes out smelling like a rose, and we're in trouble. That's all I'm saying.
I hear you, but guess what? It ain't gonna happen.
But here's my point. If it does happen, why are we in trouble?
Why are we in trouble as
he's saying that Vance is going to continue what he's doing?
Even if Vance doesn't continue it, if he decides to stay in office, that gives them more reason to say Trump president for life. If it all works out for the middle class.
We stream to high heaven. What happened to the mass deportations? What happened to this? What happened to that?
They won't care. They don't care about the wall not being built.
But Capo, here's the thing. This is if we are supposed to be looking at this and going, who is better for the middle class that run the nation?
We should be.
Make $400K and less.
Yes.
And he's actually doing something for all of them, everybody. And he's taking care of what he said he would. Why would him losing then be bad?
That's what I'm saying. No,
actually,
yeah, and I agree with you, bro. I agree with you. When I say we, I mean the Democratic Party. I am an independent, but I still speak like a Democrat because I spent my entire life with the Democratic Party. So when I say we, I mean when I say we, I mean the Democratic Party will be in a lot of trouble if he does those policies because he beat us to the punch on
Democratic
what
Party
should have
was
been
already in
ours.
trouble. That's fine. But I don't mind. I wouldn't mind them.
I wouldn't mind burning it all down either. I'm right with you.
Like if they are doing what they are supposed to do, then great. Let them continue doing it because they're doing a good job.
And that's exactly what I said. That's exactly what I said. If he
No,
does,
like, the people, even Democrats who aren't like, if you're first off, if you're a citizen, you're an independent because you aren't in that room, right? Like you aren't running for office. You're an independent. Your life is going to be dictated by the people in those seats and how well they do.
Mhm.
So if you're here as a citizen and they are doing everything they said they would, that's a good thing.
yeah, only 32%.
I don't care who the Democrats put out there. If JD Vance is taking over as president, he's doing everything he said he was going to do, and he's helping everybody out, and each one teach one, and everything's going great. I'm fine with it.
Yeah,
But the issue is they never freaking do.
right.
So
Right.
let's sure.
Right.
Sure.
And see that was something that I hadn't said yet. What I knew was gonna make David go Trumpster. Was that what I was gonna say? It's if he does 75% of those policies and he's not able to do the terrible things that he wants to do, like the deportation, like the tariffs on everything, he doesn't do those things, then he ends up going down in history as a great president. I hate to say that, but if he does those things, just like D. Todd said, how can we be mad? He's still the same egotistical, horrible human being that should have never been elected, that should never be in office at all, but he is in office. And if he performs the way he's talking right now, if he performs those things, then America's not in trouble. The Democratic Party's in trouble. Let me rephrase that. They're already in trouble.
That's
I hear
fine.
you, but you know what? Here's the thing. So again, much like investing in the stock market, you do something now, you don't get that return that makes it worth it for 20, 30 years. You know what? They're gonna go. The historians are gonna look back, and no matter what he does, even if it is positive, it takes one to mess up 10 data boys.
Yeah,
He should have never been here in the first place.
exactly. I can agree on that.
He's not a savior.
No,
He's not a savior. He ran this message of I'm the only one that can save America. He sold people on an America that doesn't exist. I've been on airplanes all over this country all this year, and you know what? I see full airports. I see full resorts. I see the grocery stores full, despite the fact that everybody says they don't have money. Blah 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 blah. Again, I go back to a point that I made at the very beginning of this. If your skill set only allows you to make $20 an hour in this global economy, that is something that you personally need to address.
absolutely.
You
Well,
need
have
to
to
personally
address
address that.
the fact that median wage is up.
Yeah.
Inflation's down, unemployment's 4.1%. People have more money than they've ever
Yeah.
had before.
The
Things
Democrats
cost more,
fix it, the
for sure.
Republicans
Things
mess it
cost
up.
more. Things
Yeah.
cost more. But
Yeah.
when the CEO of Kroger can come out and say that they price gouged above inflation and no one
Everybody-
cares, and it's
Everybody
not
did
picked up.
this. They all
Yeah.
did that. They
Yeah.
all did that.
But then here, Capo, this is a good one for you because what's one thing Kamala said when she came out and first ran and then shut up about it?
Yeah, she should have stayed on message. Yes, price gouging.
Because your
But she
people
left the
at-
message.
Hold on,
Somebody
your
in that
people at
chat probably told her that
MSNBC
people weren't
and
trying to
Fox
hear it.
News and everyone else said, "Oh, now they want to invade in. No, we can't have them controlling the prices for all of these companies. That's the opposite of what we want. No, don't do it." So people who voted wanted them to not control the prices or control the behaviors of these companies while at the same time hoping things go down in price. You can't
Yeah,
have
but
it both ways.
I don't believe the people. Go ahead, brother.
The pushback we follow a lot of people on here. Like the pushback she got when she was going after price gouging, she said it a little bit more towards the end, but she didn't hammer home
Right.
the messaging problem. It's back to that. You're right, because she should have came out every time it went. She should have just called people out.
Yeah. Play the
She should-
recording. Play the
They're
recording. All
they're
you had to do was play the recording of the Kroger CEO on the phone saying what he did. She could play it. Play the recording and say, that's what I'm going to stop. That will not happen when I'm in the White House.
She
He
didn't do
will
it.
not be able to do that. She abandoned it. And she abandoned it because, maybe you could say because of MSNBC or because of the news. She abandoned it because of her donors. She abandoned it because of her donors. The money comes from these people. And money interest in politics will always be the issue. If you get somebody in there who don't care about the money anymore, things change. But when money is the issue, you're going to do what your donors told you to do. And that's our problem.
Yeah. And that's what Bernie Sanders just said, and then Nancy Pelosi shot back at him. But Bernie's been
Nancy
telling
Pelosi need to go somewhere. It's over with. She just needs to.
Bernie has been telling you from day one. There's only one politician who's polled well against Trump.
Bernie.
The only one. It was Bernie. Say what you want. It was him. He was the one. And Debbie Wasserman Schultz did what she did back in 2016. Whip Clyburn did what he did in 2020.
Well, I mean, me and you, we went back and forth on the Bernie thing during 2020. I just don't.
Hindsight 2020.
I mean, yeah.
Whip Clyburn today was talking mess again. The Democratic Party's in shambles because they went away from the working people.
Absolutely.
People were energized. And what did they do when they inserted Hillary in 2016? They killed the energy. She won the popular vote, but she lost the swing states because that's where the belt is, where people work. That's where she lost that messaging then.
So did you believe
people wanted Trump out? And Joe said, "Hey, I can run because I'm going to help get him out." And people who know who Joe Biden is, and they said, "Okay, we'll just do it." Now, 4 years later, after a rough period in America where we had to go through inflation and COVID and everything else, Joe's not quite as popular.
Right.
But they still want to have control. That's why he said, "You know what, Kamala?
He's more.
Everybody get behind him."
He's more popular now than Trump was at his exit.
Yeah, he was 38%.
Trump was at 30%, 32%.
Yep.
He was more popular, but again, it goes back to people wanting money in their pockets because people are greedy.
Yeah. And I can't agree with you, D. Todd, that in 20, if they would have ran Bernie, at the time I thought Bernie couldn't win. That was just my thought, that Bernie couldn't win and we needed Joe Biden to win that. And I'll go back and say I was wrong. At that time, Bernie could have won. Bernie could have won. Maybe even, I don't know about Elizabeth Warren because you got the female thing. And for whatever reason, America just will not put a female in office. But I do believe Bernie could have won that race. I don't know if it would have changed this outcome because inflation was coming for us no matter what. After COVID, all the money we spent, inflation was coming. I think it boils down to what David said in the beginning about people's pockets and how they feel and not the truth. Obviously, the economy is performing better now. Inflation is where it's at. If it goes any lower than 2%, then we got deflation, and that's a problem. So 2.1% is where it needs to be. It don't need to go to 1. I had a guy at work saying, well, Trump's going to come in and inflation is going to continue to go down. I said, you don't want that, bro. And he was like, what do you mean? I said, there's a lever here. Interest rates control inflation. Inflation and interest rates go hand in hand. So, yes, we want interest rates to come down, and they will continue to come down at 0.25%. They may drop them 0.5% next time. But you don't want inflation to go any lower. You don't want deflation in the economy either. It's almost as bad as inflation, if not worse.
Yeah, but people don't know the difference between deflation and inflation.
They don't understand that. Well, that's why I was explaining to the guy.
Inflation.
Yeah. That's what I was trying to explain to the guy. Then the dollar's worth nothing at that point.
But inflation's going to level out these next few years. I mean, unless there's another pandemic, I don't.
Yeah, it's leveled out. It's leveled out now, or unless he puts
tariffs.
Even with wasn't something like 45 monkeys that went missing in South Carolina?
South Carolina, yeah, I saw that.
Yeah, it was like they only found one of the monkeys.
Yeah.
So
a lot of racist jokes being built off of that.
Jesus. I can't.
Well, man,
I'm sorry,
listen.
man. Blame Chappelle.
We are hour 15 in. I want everybody to get a chance to say their last words, and then we will sign off from Common Sense tonight.
We didn't even
We
get to
gotta.
Young Thug.
I know we backed off of Young Thugs for a second because I want David, my guy in the middle here. He ain't paid attention to Young Thugs, so I want to give him a little time.
I'm sorry.
He was on his Kamala. Who's Young Thug? I never heard of him.
Who's your favorite rapper?
David Jr.
Yeah, who's your favorite rapper? Tupac. They said, who's your favorite rapper? Who's the favorite rapper right now that's alive? Tupac.
First of all,
You didn't do that.
It's Sugar Hill Gang, first off.
That's fair. Broken glass everywhere. Capo was in the club in the 90s. He get it.
You feel me?
Capo was an extra in How to Be a Player.
Oh, yeah, right. Yeah, right.
How to Be a Player. That's a great movie, by the way.
That was a great movie.
Fantastic movie.
Oh, man.
That Bernie Mac.
That was Bill Bellamy. Wasn't Bill Bellamy in there too?
Yeah, that was Bill Bellamy. Bernie Mac was Players Club.
Bernie
Mac was in How to Be a Player. Remember the Jamaican
lady?
He
was.
Yeah.
He was over there and that was his old lady.
I seen Bill Bellamy. He was on the other day and he was like, I ain't never go to a Diddy party, so I can speak my mind. The rest of these people in Hollywood quiet. He said, I can talk. I ain't never been there. All right. Well, let's.
All right, my bad.
So closing
Closing
thoughts. And it's about to sound petty as hell. America, you have to get what you voted for. At the end of the day, this is what you wanted. You think you're going to get mass deportations, you're not, because America can't afford it. Well, they can afford it, but they're not going to allocate the funds for it. Number two, it's going to cripple your economy, because at the end of the day, there's this thing called white people taco night, right? Somebody got to pick those avocados, homie. And I promise you, your buddy Jerry over there, down there in Macon, Georgia, he ain't going to go do it. He ain't going to do that job. So I'm sorry, I'm being petty tonight, but that's just the reality. So I'm sitting back at this point. I've gone through my mourning, which, I mourned it on Wednesday. By Thursday, I was feeling better, and I said, you know what, it is what it is. It's going to be what it's going to be. So, this is what you got. This is what you wanted. And like I said, we'll see what happens. I don't think it's going to turn out as great as y'all think it is. That's just
right. D, what you got?
Well, it looks like they're going to win the House, too. So, you got, like most elections, you got the White House, the Senate, and you got the House. I expect a lot of executive orders. I expect a lot of things to get passed through. I do not expect them, they came out talking about trans kids and tariffs and mass deportations since winning. There's been no talks about the tax on tips and none of that shit. I think excuse my language, but that's over. I think, like David said, we're in wait and see mode. You're probably going to get what you asked for, which you didn't think you were asking for. Yep. Now, they might not do all of the deportations, like the 10 million, but they're going to bring ICE out here, and it's going to be elevated. You're going to see them just grabbing people. It's going to be really ugly to start. Yep. Just like it was the first time they tried to do this, and then they had the separation of kids, and then they went out and was like, all right, that's too much. It's inhumane. Yep. But you're going to see them snatching people up. Like, I have one of my really close friends, his father's, the stock market shot up on Wednesday, made a lot of money. His girlfriend's probably going to get deported, though. So, you get what you ask for, unfortunately. So, let's play it out. Like you said, we'll go on here. We'll talk about current events. We'll talk about what's going on. We'll hold them accountable. We'll see if January 6th happens again from the Democrats this time. But it's going to be fun. It's going to be fun to see how it plays out.
I got my Kamala and I got my hair at the walls flag ready.
If we get we'll get shot.
I might come here like this fella right here.
We'll get shot as soon as we get off the plane.
Oh, yeah. We ain't making it to the Capitol. I promise you that we ain't making it to the Capitol. It ain't happening. Oh, in my closing remarks, I'm gonna say I'm not a Trumpster, uh, but I am a realist, and I do understand, in my opinion, what happened in this election. One person spoke to common folks, and one person tried to speak like a common folk, and it did not work out for her. Everyone knows this man is not common. Everyone knows this man is not a good person. I don't hear very many people argue that he's a good person. What they argue is he'll secure the border, he'll fix the economy. What I say is, let's see if he does those things. If he does those things, history will reward him for it. If he doesn't do those things, we will have to keep him checked for it. We will have to bring the judgment for that. It's up to us. We talk about the media. Now we the media. The three of us, and hopefully when Jason joins next time, we a small bit of the media. But what I'm hoping is to make this platform a big piece of media. And what I always do is I see both sides of 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 the commentary, both sides of what's going on. I won't allow just my emotions to affect what's going on. If I see, like D Todd said, if I see the world getting better under Trump, I will give Donald Trump credit for the world getting better. I won't give him credit for the CHIPS Act because it ain't his. I won't give him credit for the things that I know were done in the other administration. But if he does things that work, I'm gonna give him credit for it. Because credit, you give credit where credit is due. To me, that's common sense.
You so
All
thirsty.
right, good closing. You done with all that,
You so
Miss
thirsty.
Kamala? I'm gonna be a person on this podcast for all Americans, not just
I might run in 28. Hey, they say, hey, a felon got elected. They say I can't vote, but I can run. Stop playing with him. I might run.
you gonna get up there. He's inauthentic.
Hey,
You hear him?
hey, Trump had a message just for him. He had a message just for Kamala. He said, look here, Kenneth, I got you. I got you. Look at him.
Oh man,
Dude.
I got it on our podcast. I got to walk into the lion's den every time. It is what it is, though, man. We're gonna sign off. I hope some people joined in and watched. I know we got 18 comments that I can see, so a few people did join in. We are going to get this thing popping. Y'all tune in next Sunday for Common Sense.
Yep.
We'll holler at y'all.
Well, for sure.
We are off, fellas.
All right,
Yep.
bro. You so
That's
thirsty.
nice.
You
I just keep it